Hey everyone, Rogue Fox here with Rogue Wolf Gaming. Today we're going to be on Iron Brigade. Sorry Rogue Wolf can't join us today. He's having internet problems. He recently moved. I'm not going to beat around the bush. Iron Brigade is a pretty fun, large mech with turret kind of game. I'm going to be starting in the first level of Africa. So, it's going to be a pretty fun mission. And with all that, let's begin.
This area was almost designed for a knob fight. It'll be hard, and they'll be coming for you. But you must not go down. That oasis will provide
So,
water and
this game's story is relatively simple. Two guys, one guy in a wheelchair and one guy who was pretty normal, both got exposed to a signal that gave them both super intelligence. The guy in the wheelchair made these giant mechs to allow him to walk and still kick ass. The other guy managed to make TV tube monsters, apparently. I don't really get the logic either. The hell? But for the most part though, the game's relatively enjoyable due to the fact that it's a pretty simple game. Story's pretty straightforward. Now, the one thing that's fun about this game though is that it doesn't take itself too terribly seriously, like TV tube monsters. Now, I normally use machine guns and artillery cannon just because I love that humongous amount of firepower. Now, the game is very fun to play multiplayer-wise, but again, unfortunately, I couldn't get Rogue Wolf in here. So, it's just going to be me for today. Little itty-bitty spiked balls, those are always fun.
Get some rapid-fire weapons pointed at those knobs. And use some machine gun turrets to protect your other emplacements.
Now, all the monsters in this game have different objectives, like the knobs and burst transmitters are designed to just try to destroy my turret. While the, what are they called? The blitzers are meant just to try to kill me. You know, and the objective of the game is to defend your base. Sometimes there's one, sometimes there's three. It can get pretty challenging at times, though. Now, you can customize your trench, which is what these things are called. You can customize the chassis, the legs, to give you more or less small minor differences. There's engineering chassis that allow you to place more turrets, and for cheaper, but at the cost of less weaponry. Full assault chassis like I'm doing right now, as many weapons as you want, but you can't use heavy turrets and you're restricted and they cost a lot.
Blitzers charging you. Quick, take them out.
Now the game can get pretty difficult. I mean, literally all of Europe's super simple, but we actually, me and Rogue Wolf used to actually play this a lot on the Xbox back when it came out on the 360, as I think it was a free-to-play game at the time.
There's a burst transmitter. Watch out for his grenades.
So the waves can also vary in how many there are, and the end of the game, which takes place in, I think, like the Pacifics, I guess, can get pretty difficult. Like there's one level where you have to defend 3 objectives at once.
This one's for you, tube.
He really just wanted to hide behind that rock. Now, usually in co-op, you want to have one guy with an engineer chassis, one guy with a full assault chassis, and two guys in kind of that middle ground area. Not really sure what the middle ground ones are called, but just gonna call them standards, I guess.
These guys are tough.
So big willies, those are kind of like humongous ones. They only spawn one whenever you see them, but they are tough. At least they take a lot of damage. And resistors, melee attackers.
What, aren't you reloaded yet? I like this nerve launcher. Great.
Whew, that was close.
They're coming.
They do a lot of damage if they get to your base. So loot boxes, which drop off of big willies and bolt droppers, usually can contain a random weapon. Now it can vary. Usually I get some pretty crappy weapons, but
Copy that.
Who's shooting at me? It's either you or me.
Nice work, Marine.
throughout the game, though, literally there is really no story. You just keep going, and
Looks like we have visitors for tea.
the guy's always like, ah, I'm further away and stuff. Still, though, it's definitely a pretty fun game when you really don't care about a story. No! You jerks!
Here's something else for you, tubes.
What the heck is your problems? That was just in every definition, just plain rude.
One machine gun, if you don't mind. Welcome to the party, gents.
They blew up my turret.
Who's shooting at me?
Ouch. So yeah, those are blitzers, and their literal objective is just to explode right next to you. What a bunch of jerks. Ever since I moved to Arizona about a year ago, it's definitely been pretty fun and all, but I've run into some pretty crazy freaking people. I mean, literally at one point, I got bored and someone literally told me to get in the car. I'd never met this person before. I was like, alright, you know, I'll go along with this, you know. And so I end up getting into this person's car, and you know, it's about a 40-year-old lady with very, 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 very heavy accents. Like, at first I thought like she was kidding. Like, it sounded like a phony baloney accent.
certainly could use machine guns down here.
And so I get into this person's car, and the only reason why I agreed to this was so stupid. Because I don't know why, I felt like the first words I should say were, "I'm not supposed to talk to strangers." Now, she responds with, "Well, I'm not a stranger," and for whatever reason, I was like, you know what, that works, I'll go with it. So I got into the passenger seat, and she's like, "Oh, I'm also not supposed to be driving." I'm like, great way to start. Lovely way to start.
Ha-ha! That boat dropper was no match for our black machine gun.
Like, it was freaking ridiculous. So, I'm like, alright, you know what? I'm not a guy who learns lessons from books. I'm more of a hands-on kind of guy. So, I get into her car. Now in the driver's seat. I'm like, so where do you want to go? She's like, oh, can you take me to this river in the middle of the forest? I'm like, whoa, that doesn't sound shady at all. You know, everyone says just take me to the forest. And the first thing I notice is, she's crazy. Nothing she says makes any sense whatsoever. And it wasn't like the good kind of crazy either, to where it's like, okay, you know, that this is kind of fun. Nah, this is like the, okay, she might murder me kind of crazy. But you know what, though? I've never been almost murdered before, so it's a great way to start off a day. This all started with me just walking to a Burger King. You know, this is before I had a car. So I'm walking over there, and she literally just pulled up. So I couldn't complain about anything. This is all my own will and judgment. And to find out there actually was a river and a forest, I'm like, okay, maybe she's just innocent and crazy. Who knows? Nope, I was definitely wrong. So I ended up getting, like, she literally invites me to her house just for the fucking, because she's like, oh, I'm all sweaty, think you can drop me off there? I'm like, well, I mean, if I say no, you're probably gonna ditch me out here, and I have no idea where the fuck I'm at. It's literally a great way to start things. And so I am literally just like, what the fuck am I supposed to do? I guess I'm taking her to her house. So I take her to her house, and everything's in Russian. I'm like, maybe she's a spy. Who knows? I try not to question things. The whole phrase, see something, say something, I don't feel obliged. I don't give a crap about that one guy.
Roger.
Just gonna place him because this round is over. But it was definitely a crazy adventure though, because so throughout the entire thing she's like, okay, you know, take me here. At one point while I'm at her house, she's like, hey, are you hungry? I'm like, sure. I'm thinking, okay, she's gonna make me like a really crappy sandwich. She took me out to a steak dinner, and she paid for it. And I'm like, I'm just sitting there. I'm like, does this make me a prostitute? Because I'm pretty sure someone told me I'm not allowed to be a prostitute. And I was just like, well, crap. I might get in trouble for being a prostitute. So throughout the whole time, I'm just like, okay, you know what? I need to not be a prostitute. How do I do that? I'm like, I literally sat there for a good hour thinking, I'm like, I'll turn it into a very awkward date. Doesn't sound much better, but I was like, haven't had a date in maybe 4 years. Alright, I'll give it a try. So I'm take her out to a movie, and then I'm like, okay, she's kind of leaning in, and I'm kind of not feeling it. And I'm like, okay, now this got creepy because now she's starting to get more aggressive. So I'm just like, scooting away, scooting away. And finally, she literally just forces into it, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure she wants sex. It's just a hunch, but pretty sure she wants to get down and dirty. I'm like, huh, that doesn't sound too great, you know. That's how you get like all kinds of fucked up and junk. But hey, you know what? I try not to question things. So the whole time, I'm just like, I just need to get home and not be murdered. Like, literally, this went on for 3 days. Like, I literally went with this person to random places because I was like, you know what? I'm bored today. I'm going to go with her because, you know, why not? Now, the whole time I'm just like, okay, don't want to do this because this kind of sucks. But I was like, but it's something, so at the end of the day, I finally get back after like being gone for nearly 12, 14 hours, and like I told a couple people I was gonna meet up with them. I just went to their house. I'm like, you guys didn't even bother to call me. Why I didn't even showed up? And they're like, oh, we just assumed that you ditched us. I'm like, no, I got abducted. I mean, what if I got raped or something, you know? I'm like, yeah, don't you feel guilty now? Now, on day 2, though, I end up going over to her house. Again, you know, again, she was like, oh, I just gotta run a couple of errands. I'm like, okay, you know what? She's just gotta run a couple errands. That's fine. Holy fuck, was that the worst decision ever. I went with her. And, the whole errands were just her going to doctors and her telling them that she's crazy. Like, literally, she went to doctors, said she ain't crazy, they don't believe her. And she goes to the next doctor. That should have been sign number 1 that was a bad idea. Bad idea number 2. Probably had to be the fact that like, oh, it's kind of late. You want to stay over at my place? I'm like, oh, it's only 7. But I'm like, oh, she wants that. Like, pretty sure she wants that. I don't know. Like, with the way she is, like, it could mean this, and it could be really this, and then it could be in the end something like that. Now, so I go over there, and I end up, she's like, oh, would you like to take a shower? I'm like, sure, I won't complain.
Here's something else for you, tubes.
So, whoa, no supply drops. So, I come out of the shower, and there's just a drink waiting for me. And the first thought I had was, well, out of all the things that can possibly happen, I don't see any real bad possible way of this looking bad. Whoa. Looks like my game's having a fucking spasm. Holy crap. So yeah, I'm ending the broadcast there, and I'm just gonna probably continue this story in another video. Leave it suspenseful. Anyways, thanks for stopping by, and I will see you next time.